has got none of that. It doesn't presuppose that you want to, my light's just gone off. Well, that was an unexpected item in the bagging area, but the light is now fixed. I've paid my electricity bill and we can crack on. Today we're going to be looking at ways to speed up processing in Lightroom. So things such as how to edit multiple pictures at the same time, how to take an edit and cut and paste it onto other pictures. Also how to process images as they are being imported in the first place. So whereas you might start with clicking on auto, which incidentally I advocate. Let's take this picture, D for a develop module. There's the raw picture, unedited. There's my auto button. Click on my auto button and it does a very good job at rendering a balance of tones across that picture. And it works on a per picture basis. So here's another picture from a recent Comic-Con event I was at. Click auto and it does that. One more just for good luck. There we go. And there's not much more I'd actually want to do with that. And that's the case for a lot of photography, I think. Unless you are doing something creative or deliberately staged that you have a vision for or a particular type or style of edit, then you probably just want to process your raw files so they're acceptable, so you can enjoy them, so you can look through them, decide which you want to keep, which ones you throw out, or whatever. And auto does a very good job at that. Raw files are inherently flat and a bit lifeless because there's no pre-processing done to them in your camera. It's just crammed full of all the data to allow you then to make decisions. JPEG on the other hand, they do look more vibrant, more pop, more pizzazz and more presentable because they've had contrast adjustments, highlights and shadows have been changed, sharpening's been applied, even profiles such as black and white have been applied, and ever more should be so. Once you've saved the JPEG as black and white, you can't unpick that knitting. Well, not easily in any case. Not worth your while to do it, I would hasten to guess. So today we're going to look at how we can auto apply the auto button when we import our pictures. We're also going to look at another variation of auto called Adobe Adaptive Color, which I think in some instances is better than auto at what it does to your picture. We'll probably deal with that first actually, and then we'll look at how when you've got similar pictures already in and you want to do something a bit different from auto, but the pictures are similar enough that whatever you do, you want to replicate across a set of pictures. So we'll look at how we can group pictures together, do one edit, which will cascade to the others. Now, if that is something that interests you, stick around. You can use your own pictures for this. I'll put a couple of these to download if you want to play along with some of my images, and the link will be downstairs in the doobly-doo as usual. But other than that, all that remains now is to play the title. No, I've played the titles already, so I'll just get me off the screen and we'll get cracking. So I'll see you shortly. Okay, now that he's gone, I've gone, very zen. Let's look at this, shall we? G for a gallery view. I've got a series of pictures here. We've already clicked auto on these three. Let's have a look at this one. D for our develop module, and let us now click on auto, which is a reasonable rendering of that picture. Let's reset it and let's try Adobe Adaptive Color, which is a profile here. So if we click on there and we go for Adaptive Color is, I think, in some instances much better. Notice how it makes it a bit brighter but doesn't over brighten, and it lifts out the shadows. Let's do a direct comparison here, shall we? Let's just reset that. Go back to our gallery view so you can see better what I'm doing. I'm going to right click on this picture and I'm going to create a virtual copy. So I've now got two copies of this picture side by side. On the first one, I'm going to D for my develop module. I'm going to click auto. G for my gallery view. I would normally just press my right hand arrow key, but I want to make sure you see exactly what I'm doing. I'm choosing this one now, D for develop, and this one, no edits, we're going to go for the adaptive color. You can see that's my copy up there. Now I'm going to get rid of this information on the screen by pressing my I key, I changes the information on your screen, so, and it cycles around, so there's no information, then there's date and time information and file name, press it again, there is the exposure settings, press it again, and it's off. And you can tune what information's in that, by the way. So now here we are. If I go right and left arrow key, we go between the auto image and the adaptive color. Now I actually prefer that for several reasons. One, it does a better job of lifting the shadows, and yes, I would still want to tune both, by the way, on this one, so I might want to bring it down a little bit. But guess what, let's look more closely at this. Look how on this picture my highlights are here are minus 67. So considering it goes to 100, and the numbers mean nothing here, they're not exactly a linear scale, but for reference I can move it a further 33. Okay, I can take the highlights from there down 33. So some of these in the middle makes no difference. Some of these push towards one end or the other means there's less wriggle room. If I come back to the one where I applied the adaptive color, not only can I globally adjust how much that has been applied with this slider, hence it being adaptive as well, but in the terms of highlights, look, I'm still in the middle. So I've got a lot further to go. Look at the color of the sky now. That sky, the highlights have gone down far too far. I don't like that, but far too far. You can actually see the blue. Let's left arrow key to go to the previous one, and if I take the highlights down, you see there's more wriggle room. Now back on the adaptive color one, I do not like that as dark as that, but the point I'm making is because we've applied a profile, it leaves these untouched, so you have the full range of these to then play with. So it might be worth considering that for your pictures. G for our gallery view. Let's go and look at this one of Ella. D for my develop module. Let's see what adaptive color makes of this. There you go. It's brightened it up, brightened the background up a bit, lifted some of the shadows, and we can then play with it. Versus, reset it, and click on auto, which I probably want to brighten a bit anyway. So it's touch and go, but I have found in some instances auto is a good place to start, but in others the adaptive color. If my pictures are a bit too dark or indeed a bit too bright, I'll probably try the adaptive color, because I think it makes a better job at the initial edit. Most times the initial edit is fine. That's all you need to do in this. On this particular picture, by the way, I'd probably just add a little bit of vignette just to bring the eye in slightly, and we will leave it at that. G for a gallery view. So that is the function of auto and adaptive color. Now let's see how we can apply those while we import. Now in order to do that, if I click on my import screen, under this section here, apply during import, it currently says none. Metadata, by the way, that's just me putting all my copyright information automatically into the picture, but here my develop setting says nothing. I can choose any one of the profiles listed here to automatically be applied. For example, portraits black and white. What are those? I'll show you how to look those up in a second. But you can also apply some of your own, and I have several. So there's a one which applies auto and black and white 02. There's one that applies auto settings only. There's the one that does a backlight of the subject by one stop, and so on. Let's create a profile, save it, and let's do that to import our pictures. So let's just cancel out of that. I'm going to use this picture. It doesn't matter which picture I use, and I'm going to go to D for my develop module because it gives me access to presets here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new preset with the plus button. Now the preset is a list of, let's check none, a list of all the features of Lightroom. If the basic panel, and I'll tell you what, I will open the basic panel first because it makes it a little bit more intuitive. Right, let's click on it again. So if we run down here, white balance, exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, texture, cloud, and read down here, you've got your white balance, exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows. All of these functions are represented here. And so it goes on through the rest of the editing stack. If we check none and click on auto settings, then this profile will apply auto settings. Let's give it a name and we'll call it test auto and create. Okay, has it worked? Let's see if it has, shall we? So let's go back to our gallery view. Let's go into a picture we haven't edited yet. Let's look at this one of Frankie from another cosplayer shoot. D for a develop module. Nothing has been set. Let's run that profile, which we call test auto, by clicking on it, and notice how it has done that to our edit. Let's reset it and click on auto itself, and it's the same edit. So this profile is doing the same as that button. So what's the big deal? Well, let's have a look, shall we? G for a gallery view. I'm just going to bring me back on screen for a second. Hello, I'm back. So I went out, took some pictures because I hadn't on my camera to show you this, and I'm now going to import them into Lightroom. So if you watch Lightroom, I'll plug this in, I'll switch my camera on. It says that it's busy uploading. I'll put it down on my desk. Lightroom goes to automatically, without touching it, has gone to the import. There's a whole series of pictures. Now, where you import and how they import is a subject of a different video. I personally prefer to import all pictures using a cable to one set folder where I then work on them. But that's not what this video is about. But I just wanted to explain why I've got that and why I called it imported files. Now here in my develop settings, I'm going to choose our test auto, and I'm going to click import, and it'll bring all these pictures in and it will automatically apply the import. While it's doing that, and my machine's on a bit of a go slow, I think it's also doing a backup, I'm going to take me back off screen and we'll see how we get on. Because I accidentally pressed stop there, some have magically appeared. In fact, that is still importing. Let's use my minus key to make this grid a little bit smaller, and you can see they're all coming in. But rather than wait for them to end, let's just click on this first one and go D for a develop module, and notice how auto has been applied. Right hand arrow key for the next picture of my street photography view, and auto's been applied. Right hand arrow key and auto's been applied. So I've wasted no time at all, including a shadow of myself in the picture. That's good photography. G. So it's now finished the import, which didn't take too long at all for 80 pictures, I guess. A bit slower because my machine's doing something else, as you can see down here. The CPU's been eaten up. But now auto's been applied to all of them. As simple as that. And it doesn't need to be auto. It could be any collection or function you want. Let's create another one, shall we? Let's take this picture here, develop it, let's reset it. Let's say I want to go and apply a black and white profile. I'm going to use black and white 1, close. I'm going to increase the exposure. I'm going to add a vignette. I'm just messing here. Add a vignette. And then I'm going to put a mask on because I want to show you that masks work as well. So let's go and choose a subject. And I'm going to use that to brighten them a little bit. And let's say that as a general look I want to apply to this particular batch of street photography. Well, let's come over here, click on a preset, create preset. I'm going to call this one test street, and I'm going to say I want my mask to be included. In fact, I want everything. let's just check all. There you go. So all of the things I've done here, granted I haven't changed all of them, but all of the things are in there. But we know that largely it's the black white profile and the mask. So let's just create that. Now, as before, on import, where I chose test auto, I can now choose test street, and it would apply that black white profile on the way in. None of which is burnt in, at all. They are just slider adjustments in Lightroom. And that's it. That's how easy it is to import pictures and have them processed at the same time. Let's now have a look at multiple edits. So if I go back to, bear with me, some pictures I put to one side, and let's look at these ones of Ella. So all of these pictures are very similar from the same photo shoot, and they're all similar lighting. So in essence, and they're all unedited, in essence, if I edit one and I want to put it on the other, I can do the following. There are several ways to doing this. This is just the way I do it. D for my develop module. Now, how I actually edit this is not important, but just to make sure we've actually done something, I'm just going to bring a bit of a vignette in. And even though I wouldn't do this in black and white, I'm going to do it in black and white because it demonstrates the process. Okay, so let's say I've done that edit, and now go right arrow key, and I just click this button called previous. Right arrow key, previous, and it copies them, the edits across. Let's reset them, and I'll show you another method. Reset, reset, G for a gallery view. This time, click on the first one, hold my shift down, click on the last one. Notice that's slightly brighter, so that's the one that I will be editing, and these will all be copied. So D for a develop module. Make sure this button here, auto sync, is on. And now, what I'll do is, I will just bring this up so you can see the others, my film strip. I'm going to edit this one in the same way. So let's put a bit of a vignette on. And let's put in a black and white profile. And you watch the film strip at the bottom. Notice how what I've done to this first picture is now cascaded automatically across the others. So there you go. I've done one edit because they're all very similar, and it's automatically applied it. Now, I hope those tips and tricks, I'll leave it there, but I hope those tips and tricks are something you will find useful and will actually help you speed up using Lightroom. It really does take some of the chore, if indeed there is a chore. I don't think there is a chore, but if indeed you think there is a chore in doing edits, then hopefully they're taken away. 100 pictures, 200 pictures, whatever. Import with auto, and that's a great leg up to your editing journey. And that's all I have for you at the moment. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already clicked on subscribe and you want to make me happy, please click on subscribe and ring the bell as well, so to be notified of future videos. And I will leave it there. And next time, my lights won't fail. Bye for now.